speaker with somebody who is from UK and has come to Singapore in the last few years. I got to know him. I got to see what he was doing. Civil engineer by training, right? But fell in love with technology, and marrying technology with civil engineering background and looking at how actually AI can be deployed in this build sector, and more importantly, the whole potential of what is possible. So I'd like to invite Mr. Stephen Ludwig to the stage now and share with us his experience in using AI technology, particularly in geotech, and how it can make a difference in the whole civil engineering space. So Stephen, please come on board. The stage is yours.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the kind words, Oliver. That means a lot. So I'm Stefan Lukic. I'm the CEO of Civils AI, and we're doing engineering automation with AI and machine learning. A little bit about me to get started. So my background's in civil engineering. My academic background is in civil engineering, and I took a MSc in tunneling and underground space, which is a very niche degree. I'm a self-taught web developer. I've built quite a few websites in the past. Civils AI is the first website that I built for the construction industry. I'm currently the CEO of Civils AI, and before that I was working for Arup here in Singapore. I'm based here in Singapore, and before that working in the UK, mainly on tunneling projects. So in this presentation today, I'm going to try and keep it quite educational, a bit less salesy necessarily, and I want to leave you with some impression of some of the new advancements in AI and how this could be applicable for you in your role in the construction industry. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to cover a few different things. I'm going to talk about the pace of tech innovation over the past 40 years, let's say, and then compare this to the pace of construction innovation and try to explain perhaps why construction innovation in some ways has lagged behind general tech innovation. I then want to go over some general pain points that more on the design side and on the consultancy side that are perhaps holding back some innovation in construction, and then move on to talk about AI, so recent advancements in AI and what this means for the construction industry and how we could start taking advantage of this technology. And then at the end, I want to give you a few takeaways perhaps on 3 ways to boost your productivity and efficiency in your day-to-day job. So could I see a show of hands? Like, how many people have heard of Moore's Law before? Okay, a few. So Moore's Law is the theory that every 2 years, the number of transistors on a microchip doubles. This means every microchip in the world, every 2 years, gets twice as powerful, twice as much performance. So every device you use, if you have an iPhone or a MacBook, every 2 years, the new version of that gets twice as powerful. On the x-axis here, you can see years. On the y-axis, you see number of transistors. And all the blue dots are different microchips that have been released. The thing with this is it's like a log curve, so this is actually exponential. What we see in this chart here is a comparison of the general economy, manufacturing, and construction in terms of our gross value added per hour worked. So what you can see here is the gray line is the general economy, the light blue line is manufacturing, and then the orange one is construction. And so what this means is every year that's gone by since 1995, every hour that you work has improved in productivity. This has correlation with the Moore's Law that we saw here. So every hour that we're spending, because of all the technology we're using, we're just getting more and more efficient and adding more and more value. One thing to take away from this is that we've obviously seen that construction is increasing in productivity. However, it's not keeping check with things like manufacturing. So what I want to try and do is dive into that a little bit and explain perhaps some reasons behind this. So, this is from my understanding and from a lot of the research I've been doing, some of the like pain points and some of the reasons that could be holding back. More on the design side, I understand there's other aspects to this, but on the design side, one of the big things that is holding us back is non-digital information flows. So what does this mean? So there's two aspects to this. It's availability of information. So a good example of this is, let's say you have someone in your company who's worked for 40 and 50 years in the industry and has a ton of experience on all these different projects. What happens when that person retires? Obviously, we try to capture some of their knowledge and all that they've learned, but quite often, a lot of that knowledge leaves them when they leave the industry. This is quite different to something like manufacturing, where if you spend 40 years building a factory and optimizing a process, if you retire, a lot of value is still locked in that process and it's quite optimized. So this is a challenge construction kind of has to overcome. And also accessibility of information. Throughout all of our projects, we tend to report everything and put it away in PDFs, which is quite challenging when we come on future projects to be able to refer back to some of the work that we've done in the past and understand, okay, let's search for how much this cost us, how long did it take us. It's quite difficult to find that information. We also have fragmented processes. Lots of things aren't standardized. So the thing here is, like, for example, in Singapore, if there's multiple different apartment buildings being constructed, even if they're on the same street, there could be completely different approaches on the two projects. And the challenge here is that if you're trying to standardize, quite often someone will say, I've done this for X number of years, why should I change it now and take that risk myself when I know that this method I've been using all this time works? So two big challenges. Now on to more the AI side. So I'm going to try and keep this more high level, but large language models that are being used today are passing our university entrance exams. So you may all have heard of ChatGPT by OpenAI. Maybe some of you have used it. So this is powered by some large language model. The two that you see here is called GPT-4 and GPT 3.5. So this GPT-4 was just released a few weeks ago, literally, publicly. And what you can see here is a set of the different like exams that are used around the world. The top one's the bar for if you want to become a barrister. And you see here that GPT, their new large language model, is actually passing a lot of these exams that we treat as judging human intelligence. Which brings up the question, what is actual intelligence? I mean, for us as humans, we use exams to mainly judge that. So large language models are approaching what we consider as being human intelligence, at least an 18-year-old's level of human intelligence in order to get into university. So what we have in all that, and the thing with this is OpenAI and other providers like, Microsoft are building this into all their devices going forwards. So all your Microsoft Office, etc., will have software which has this engine in it. So inside your pocket, you'll basically have an 18-year-old, an 18-year-old level of intelligence that's always with you. Although I'm not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. So, okay, on to us a little bit now. So how does Civil's AI unlock this tremendous potential of AI? So what we're really focusing on is this aspect of improving information flows and capturing this non-digital data that's in PDFs. So in order to do this, we started on one particular area, which is these geological records like borehole logs and site investigation reports. And in order for us to get this information out, it's actually an AI problem. We have to read the structure of, you may have seen these site investigations a lot before. They're on most projects, they'll have to have a site investigation. So you'll see here, it's a big table of information. What we do with this is, obviously, as humans, once we've been taught how to read these, it's easy and repetitive almost for us. But in order to train a machine to do this, it takes a lot of data and a lot of labeling of this data. So what we do basically is we make it so that humans don't have to read these tables of data anymore. We do it automatically for you, meaning no manual transcription of these records anymore, no more repetitive reading rows of data and typing it into Excel and things. So we extract the data from PDFs, basically. We have a final human QA check at the end because there's challenges around this in terms of lots of different styles around the world, different languages, all of this. So we have a final human QA check at the end to make sure all the results are correct. We're very fast. We do it in under 30 minutes for a report. We've been using this to not just work with construction companies. We've been working with, like, the UK government is really interested in this. So we've been working with them to actually digitize their historic archives. They have a million of these, over a million of these records around the country. And what we're doing is creating this kind of Google Maps of, like, the underground data. So you can pick where your construction site is and access all of these logs, which will tell you what's underground on your project and understand the geotechnical risk. And yeah, just to give you an idea of what our progress is like, we've done around 30% of London's records for the whole city in about 5 weeks. So Civils AI is all on the cloud, meaning it's all web software. You can just, as long as you have an internet connection, you can use it on any device. It's a website. And we've created these visualization tools as well. So the thing you see here is a model of what's under the ground on a particular project. The sticks that you see are these borehole logs. So we create some 3D models of what's under the ground. Okay, something that's also interesting that we've been doing a bit of recently is capturing data from past construction projects by reading lots and lots of trade journals and Wikipedia and putting together some data sets that we thought would be useful to the industry. This was last year we were doing this. So we have various different tools for planning construction projects. In this case, it's a bridge. You're entering a bridge length where you are in the world, and it's using this data to try and predict cost and program, like time and material specs, and then giving you a short list of the different projects in that area, which could be relevant to you if you need to find similar projects. Okay, here's some other AI applications that could be interesting. Sort of done with talking about Civils AI, just gave you a quick flavor. But here's some other interesting applications besides us, which I think are great. So here's one that's actually for site inspections and monitoring progress. So that I see more people getting their phones out for this one than for Civils AI. Okay, so for this one, it's actually allowing, the way this works is someone walks around a construction project with a camera once per week, let's say, and they use this to track progress happening on the project. So they'll identify changes, identify what the progress is like, and report that back automatically, so you don't need site investigation, as many site visits. There's also a lot of interesting stuff going on with generative design at the moment. So the idea here is there's two things that are really interesting at the moment that lots of people are working on. So OpenAI released something called DALL-E 2, which is a way of generating images that have never been created before. So they've trained essentially an AI model on lots of images of, let's say in the top left, it's like the Shiba dog, lots of images of people wearing berets. And then what happens with that text prompt, if you search for that term of a Shiba wearing a beret, it will generate an original image that's never been seen before. And there's also aspects of AI-generated clothes modeling. So these are models who have not real people at all, just completely AI-generated, and it's overlaying clothes that a supplier or someone was uploading and creating never-before-seen images. This is really interesting because it applies a lot to CAD design, and currently there's a lot of interesting work going on how this applies to CAD. So there'll be some solutions like that coming out pretty soon. So how could you boost your productivity for free and your efficiency? So something that we've been doing, tying this into us a little bit, is that we released a load of free engineering calculators and tools that are all on our website. You'll recognize some names in here: geotechnical calculators, structural calculators, tunneling, one or two for contractors. All of these are to Euro codes, so it's applicable here in Singapore, and they're quite handy for checking doing quick engineering calculations. So these are quite popular and have been useful for us in terms of growing the business the past year. Some other ideas that I'd like to touch on are, perhaps have a think about some kind of knowledge transfer system when people are retiring. I see that a lot of information gets lost, and we've had a lot of good feedback in terms of the data we've been trying to gather from public sources on past construction projects. And it's just a shame that when people do leave the industry, that a lot of that information leaves with them. So it's capturing that in some way. And like I was saying, tracking key data on construction projects and tying that back into future plans. And yeah, just an interesting question, what was the last piece of software your company purchased? Perhaps to have a think about, especially here today. Is there something out there that can boost your productivity in some way? And thinking about that. So the last thing I want to leave you with today is the definition of what an engineer is. So one definition is it's someone who does precision guesswork based on unreliable data provided by those of questionable knowledge. So this is actually something that AI, as you've seen probably if you've used ChatGPT, is incredibly good at, doing this kind of precision guesswork, unreliable data. So I really see a huge potential for engineers using AI tools to really help them in the future and improve their productivity. Here's my email. I'm based here in Singapore. So if you're interested in anything you heard, I'd love to hear from you.